Had a good day?
Good.
You didn't get caught on Harbour Bridge, did you?
No.
A lot did. That cord fell out. I want you to get this. I don't want anybody to miss out here.
Very kind of.
It's my middle name. Okay, thanks for coming. Today's decision by the Serious Fraud Office, being announced right now, exonerates the New Zealand First Party of any electoral law breaches. Having fully investigated the allegations, the SFO has cleared the New Zealand First Party, all of its ministers, all sitting members of the New Zealand First Party, all candidates standing for election, and all party employees of any wrongdoing. It's a relief after months of this cloud hanging over the party that we have been fully cleared. Unlike the recent National Party donation scandal, no party member has been implicated or charged by the SFO. Whilst the SFO has confirmed that no New Zealand First Minister, parliamentarian or party member broke any electoral laws, the timing of its decision to lay charges against the Foundation constitutes a James Comey level error of judgment. It's an appalling intrusion in a period when the people begin to think seriously about the shape of the next government. It's been amply demonstrated that FBI Director Comey's groundless findings impacted on Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign in the US. Allegations were made about me also in 2008, which the SFO, as you all know, found again to be baseless. While we respect its independence, the SFO cannot justify the timing of its decision. It's quite shocking for any who believe in fair elections that the SFO, 1 day away from overseas voting and 4 days from advanced voting beginning, would interpose itself into the general election in this poorly conceived fashion. The Foundation is an entirely separate entity from the New Zealand First Party, but that distinction will be lost on some and be deliberately confused, sadly, by others. The way in which this investigation has been conducted raises serious questions about the conduct of the Serious Fraud Office. In my opinion, the SFO has acted unreasonably and without justification, both in the way in which the investigation has been conducted and in public announcements the SFO has chosen to make about the investigation, in breach of the Serious Fraud Office's own written policy of not commenting on investigations until the first appearance of any accused facing charges. As a result, the New Zealand First Party has instructed its lawyers to issue proceedings in the High Court against the Serious Fraud Office, seeking declarations that the Serious Fraud Office has amounted to an abuse of its statutory powers and has been unreasonable. Compounding the SFO's poor judgment are 3 other matters. First, the SFO's still incomplete investigation of foreign money flowing into the National Party. We know that they were provided with significantly more serious information about the pernicious foreign influence campaign that penetrated the National Party. Yet only a portion of those electoral breaches resulted in charges. And the question is, why? Second, if voters needed to hear from the SFO before the election, where are its findings about Labour's mayoral electoral funding in both Christchurch and Auckland? And third, what about the SFO's investigation into donations made to Labour in 2017? How is that fair? And the answer is, it is not. Voters will judge for themselves the fairness of the SFO's actions. Notwithstanding today's exoneration by the SFO, taxpayer-funded and other journalists, those who have spilled litres of ink in trying to destroy New Zealand First, must now confront the truth that not one minister, MP or party member has been anything other than fully exonerated. The point also needs to be repeated to those same journalists attempting to smear me and my party that New Zealand First is completely separate from the foundation. Neither I nor any other party is allowed to make any further comment on this matter because it is now sub judice. Any questions?
Are you saying this is a witch hunt against not just the foundation but you yourself?
Well, we've been through months and months and months of all sorts of people being grabbed and interviewed and examined and all sorts of difficulties and time-consuming at that. And at the end, where the party was concerned, there was absolutely nothing. And this has gone on for months.
Have you been interviewed?
I was not interviewed. I was sent a series of questions, which I was pleased to answer, and I said from the very beginning that New Zealand First wished to cooperate with the SFO way back when these allegations were first made.
Mr. Peters, will you use this come election time to question the outcome of the election? Is that how strongly you feel about that? Do you think it will have an impact on the election and your fair treatment?
Look, I'm not going to answer those questions today, but I do know very well, because I watched it very carefully, someone in the United States was 32% in front when the campaign started, if you can rely upon polls, of course. And after the Comey attack and others, which were baseless, she had lost. And this is an intervention in the election which has no relationship to the mandate the SFO has.
Have either of the two defendants ever been party members of New Zealand First?
Look, I have to tell you that when someone says and that the matter is sub judice, it's sub judice, and I can't answer those questions. And nor can you, by insinuation, infer that in a question with respect. So please understand what the law is. I've done my best in a long, long career to
What
abide by the
is, what
law.
is the purpose of the New Zealand First Foundation if it's not to benefit the party?
Well, the reality of that is that's not a sub judice question, but we were only ever a discretionary beneficiary of the foundation, which means that were we not to exist, but the policies were to be found somewhere else, then they should be supported. And that is a serious legal distinction.
When you're talking about timing and questioning the SFO, if it was a few weeks ago, would you have been more comfortable with that? Is it just because it's so close to advance voting and overseas voting?
They said in April that they were going to give you a decision before the election, which was then September 19th. Why they said that, no one understands. I've asked countless lawyers who've got very great familiarity as to why would they possibly say a thing like that when they had other investigations underway. And whilst there was that much information, which I know to exist, and I know what the electrical wiring diagram could be with respect to them, why is that in the mayoral investigations and the investigations in the Labour Party not on the same footing? That's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, how can that possibly be fair?
How damaging do you believe this is going to be you as the political leader of New Zealand First?
Well, you know, you build a whole, spend decades trying to build a reputation, and someone sets to smash it down in 15 seconds. And I'm standing here as someone who was sworn to the bar decades ago to uphold the law, and I have, and this is my second time to be exonerated and smacked before an election.
Are you saying that?
Can I, look, okay, can I have,
Are you,
yes.
Are you saying that the SFO should have sat on this information and not done anything until after?
No, the SFO needs to explain to you why there's not the same priority where the other investigations are concerned. into National's wiring diagram of funding, into Labor's 2017 funding, and to the two Mayoralty funding arrangements. So there's 4 separate occasions where they have chosen not to do anything by way of priority, but in New Zealand First case, do something that has no precedent at all, announcing the finality of investigation before the election, which was September 19th. They didn't get there, and they didn't make it when the decision to announce that timeline after the COVID-19 secondary impact. They made it beforehand. So they never made it on the 19th of September, but decided to go on the 23rd of September anyway.
If you've been exonerated, how will this impact the election, do you think?
That depends how fair you're prepared to be in correcting the months and months of deceit, lies, and rumour with malice that you and your colleagues have spread. It's over to you.
Do you believe what the SFO has done amounts to political interference?
Look, that's for another day, and that's why I've instructed, and we've instructed our lawyers to take it much further than where it is today, because we do not believe that anyway. This, according to the law, is acceptable.
With
That's
your
a
High
pretty
Court
serious
case.
allegation against.
Sorry, can I have
defendant.
the question, Abby?
With your High Court case, you'll have to act pretty speedily because you are running out of time, aren't you, for this?
Well,
We're literally 18
don't you worry,
months away.
we're up to the chase, all right?
What do you say?
I've put up with this, and my colleagues have put up with this, and it's provided enormous stress and strain to the party. We always knew that we were innocent, but we put up with it month after month after month, and I had to demand that they go public and clear us. And I'm asking, why did you do that a long time ago? When did you know? Why do you leave us out here to within 20 days of the campaign?
When were you informed of the outcome of the investigation?
When?
When?
23rd of September.
Why did it take the SFO a week to make?
Because we said to them, we have asked you, what is this announcement going to say? And they wouldn't give it over. We said, we're entitled to know what it's going to say. And so we went to the court just to get the announcement and to get them to put in front of us what they were going to tell you, the public, at 5 o'clock tonight, for example. These are fundamental legal rights I'm talking about.
Mr. Peters, is it a coincidence that National announced a policy to double the funding of the Serious Fraud Office today?
Well, it's a sense with a sense of wry amusement I looked at that, because I don't know if you know what it is that is in the documents this high, I mean that high, that the Serious Fraud Office has with respect to the National Party's funding. But I know that the wiring diagrams go straight to China. And I'm asking myself, why on earth and how on earth can you be taking this approach with my party and not to doing anything with respect to that?
Can I just clarify with the comments you were making to Jackson about the timeline? So you found out about our decision on the 23rd.
Well, they said
and
they
then-
told my lawyers at the last moment that it's on the same day. We're going to make an announcement. We said, what is in your announcement? We're entitled to know. And then they wouldn't provide it. So we went to court to get it. Because we thought the public was entitled to know with great clarity what they were going to do and say.
That hasn't been achieved though, because literally there's 2 sentences here. Were you happy with the amount of clarity that they shared?
Total exoneration for every member of my party is clarity. And I'm delighted with that.
Mr. Peters,
So when
donors,
did you
there were
find-
donors who talked to staff who clearly thought that they were donating to the New Zealand First Party.
Look,
but thousands
can I just say to you,
Foundation.
I don't want to give you a legal lesson today, but sub judice is sub judice, and I'm not going to be commenting on that.
Do you know
This action-
Any inferential question by that seeks to breach the sub judice rule is for you and your management and your employment to decide. But that's a breach of the law. I'm not going to entertain you. Jackson, what are you going to say?
Do you know who the 2 individuals are?
Look, every question you're going to ask on that, as I said at the end of my press statement, is sub judice.
So when did you actually find out did the SFO hand over the exact statement they were going to make public to you after you took that to court?
Well, they hadn't given it to us at that point in time. And then they said, well, we agree that that statement is not accurate and we will fix it. And they have. And what you got there, which they released at 5 o'clock today, is precisely what I read out now.
That action, you're taking against the SFO now, you're not hoping to have that cleared up before the election, are you?
I haven't got time to do that.
No.
But I'm not going to stand back. You know, the reality is, this is a very expensive business. But in the end, honour and integrity and a fair go is worth defending. And I'm not going to stand back and allow someone, no matter how high they are in authority, and given the record of that office, and you know what happened to that office from the very beginning, not once but twice, and the second time I was involved, you recall, in the dismissal of the head of the SFO, quite rightly so at the time, because I challenged what they were doing, and I'm challenging again this process, which is a breach, in our view, of the law under which they operate.
What
Do you think-
what
do you think
consequences
it's
would you
just-
like to see for the SFO then?
Well, I'm not going to tell you that. All I'm telling you here to say is I'm absolutely delighted that you are pleased to see me exonerated with all of my colleagues. Thank you very much for a lovely evening. I've got work to do. Oh, and by the way, I didn't say 15 billion for the light rail. I said between 10 and 15, which means it can't be 15. I didn't.